everyone. Hello and welcome into another day of discussing Minnesota Vikings football. And for today, we're going to participate in a little bit of an extracurricular activity where we attempt to figure out what this team is going to do for the rest of the season. And how we're going to do that is attempt to predict the final record for the Minnesota Vikings for the 2021 campaign by going through the schedule and seeing where the wins and losses are going to come from. So I feel like that this is a good time during this point of the season to do this because we're 2-3. We have a good chunk of the season completed. We're heading into week 6. We just finished a 3-game homestand where we come out of that with more questions than answers. So as I said in a previous video this week, this team has been on both ends of the spectrum. They are a missed field goal away from defeating the Arizona Cardinals, who are currently without a loss. They're the only undefeated team left this year. And then 2 days ago, we needed a field goal to defeat the Detroit Lions, who haven't won a game yet. They're one of 2 remaining winless teams in the NFL, them and the Jaguars, both currently sitting at 0-5. So we have played up to expectations, and then we have played down to expectations. And it seems like the current trajectory for the Minnesota Vikings is a regression to the mean. And I think that I said that I saw this coming because you remember a few weeks ago how we were having a conversation about how Kirk Cousins could potentially be having an MVP season? That is out the door. And now we need to figure out, is there enough that we've seen from this team after 5 weeks to project a playoff spot for the Minnesota Vikings in 2021? And I've got bad news. As we go through this schedule, the answer is probably going to be no. So I'm going to go through these games one by one. And if you're new here, this is the whiteboard. You'll get to see this twice this week because it will also be featured in tomorrow's NFL Pick'em video as that series continues through week 6. So if you're a fan of the whiteboard, congratulations. We get 2 videos this week with it coming back. And it's always nice to have a visual that people can follow along with as opposed to on-screen graphics. And it saves me time. I don't have to go in and compute all of those. I can just do it right here. So I'm going to attempt to go through this schedule, find wins, find losses, and a couple of notes is that this is just the rest of season. I don't have the first 5 weeks up here, and any game you see with a blue line next to it, that indicates that that is a road matchup, and I will also let you know which games are going to be on prime time as we go through here. So without further ado, now that we've got all that out of the way, let's go over the schedule and see what we can find. So we're heading into the Panthers for our first road game in a month. Our last road game was against the Cardinals. So far, we are 0-2 on the road. The Carolina Panthers have regressed. They started out 3-0. They were pretty hot, but the problem was that they weren't playing any tough competition. Now that they have, we kind of have a better idea of what they are. And Sam Darnold started off hot as well, has regressed down to the mean. And it all comes back. Everything comes in waves. And I talked about that when we were discussing the potential of Kirk Cousins having an MVP season, that eventually things regress to the mean and they come back down to earth. And that's, I think, what we're looking at is 2 teams in flux. We have the Minnesota Vikings who are trying to trend up, the Carolina Panthers who are unfortunately trending down. The big question is going to be Christian McCaffrey. Is he going to be healthy enough to return to this game? I don't know if that matters so much, given that Chuba Hubbard has been pretty decent in his, in his time that he's had to replace Christian McCaffrey, but he is still a very lethal weapon, not one that I'm sure that we're going to be able to handle from a defensive standpoint. Because remember, the Minnesota Vikings run defense this year is not great, and we have given up 100 yards on the ground in each of the previous 5 games to start the season. So if you're looking for a 100-yard game, you're probably going to get it against the Minnesota Vikings. Not only the fact of that is that the passing game hasn't been great either, with Brashad Breeland getting exposed. And all of this is going to apply to the rest of the games as well. Having said all of that, I am optimistic. I believe that the Carolina Panthers is a winnable game. So I am going to project a win against the Panthers, and that's going to move us into 3-3 territory. So I'm going to put a win up here for the Carolina Panthers game, and that's going to move us to 3-3 going into the bye. And that's going to save Mike Zimmer so much, drama from the front office. I think that will buy him more time. And I think at that point, ownership and the general manager and the front office come to him and be like, okay, you're 3-3. Let's see what you can do. Let's make it happen. So the pressure will be off. The hot seat will cool a little bit. Next, we get the Cowboys at home for Sunday Night Football, and the Cowboys are 4-1 at this point, and they look good offensively. Defensively, probably a little questionable, but they have the guy that's probably Defensive Player of the Year in Trayvon Diggs, who is just picking off passes left and right. So it's tough to imagine that we're going to be able to go toe-to-toe with this offense that has Tony Pollard, Ezekiel Elliott, CeeDee Lamb. I'm going to predict a loss on prime time for the Minnesota Vikings to Dallas. I think that Dallas is just too good, too hot right now. They're going to have to get a lot of pressure on Dak Prescott, so I'm going to predict a loss in that one. Next, we go on the road to the Ravens. I'm not even going to really spend that much time on this. Did you watch the game last night that the Ravens played against the Colts? Where Lamar Jackson engineered the biggest comeback of his NFL career. He's currently leading the league in passing yards, or he's pretty close to. No, it's Tom Brady that's leading the league in passing yards. I think he's fourth in passing and eighth in rushing, and I think he has the 14th total yards in the NFL versus entire football teams. So there's only like 13 teams that have more total yards of offense than he does as an individual. Marquise Brown is catching balls. Mark Andrews is on fire. He was on fire for that game last night against the Colts. I'm going to predict a loss. I don't see how we beat the Ravens. That team is just too damn good. Next, we have the Chargers. That loss, by the way, puts us at 3-5, so really bad start. Chargers, that's tough. They just were annihilated for a big time shootout with the Cleveland Browns. I think the Browns ended up scoring 40 some points, 46 points, 47 points. I forget what it was, but it was a close game. And it's hard to envision that because of how much the Browns offense struggled against the Vikings. So I'm going to predict that this is the one game that we steal. Vikings fans travel pretty good. The game is in Los Angeles. I saw a lot of Browns fans in the stadium for that game against the Chargers. I'm going to say we sneak one out here. I don't know how, but I'm just going to say that we do. That's the one game that's going to be like a trap game for the Chargers on their schedule. Next, we have the Packers at home. I feel pretty confident that we can split with this division rival, so I'm going to give them the win now. Because later in the year, I think it's going to be much tougher. So I'm going to give the win to the Vikings here. That's going to put us at, where are we at now? So we are 3-3 here, 3-4, 3-5, 4-5. We're back to 5-5. We're playing this game of can you stay above 500, and so far it's been tough. Next, we get the 49ers. That is a tough defensive front. It's going to be on the road. Trey Lance is pretty dynamic. I think he's injured right now. They have a bye week coming up. I think it's going to be tough for the Vikings to sort of figure out how to contain that. We'll see how they do against Lamar Jackson, but I don't have high hopes. I don't know. I'm going to say that we lose to the 49ers here. I don't know. It's just a hunch. So that's not how you spell loss. I'm writing these out as we go. So I'll predict a loss here to the 49ers. That'll put us at 5-6. It feels eerily similar to 2020, doesn't it? Next, we have the Detroit Lions. I think that they're going to be hungry for revenge, but however, I just think that roster is so bad, it gets worse by the day. I don't know how interested Lions fans are going to be at that point in the season. I don't really think that that'll be a tough place to play. I'm going to say we sweep the Lions this year as much as I'm not confident in that because of what just happened 2 days ago, but we have to be honest with ourselves if we're going to do this. So that puts us at, we're now at 6-6. So let's see if we can get above 500. We have the Steelers at home. That's a tough out. Do I have faith in them to beat the Steelers? They just lost Juju Smith-Schuster for what looks like to be the season. Ben Roethlisberger's arm is beyond dead. Najee Harris is still a threat. They still have really good receiving talent in Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool. And that defense is still tough. It has TJ Watt. It still has Minka Fitzpatrick. So I don't know. I'm going to say that that's a loss. I'm going to say that the Steelers are going to be too tough of an out. It'll be a close game, and we're going to lose that one. So that's Thursday Night Football, by the way. So that's also on short rest. So I'm going to say that just all adds up to a loss. Next, we have the Chicago Bears on Monday Night Football 11 days later. It's good that we have that much time off to prepare for Chicago. Chicago's offense is pretty atrocious right now. Matt Nagy is just smothering Justin Fields' development and production by just not tailoring the offense to his skill set. We'll see what happens over time if they figure that out, or if Matt Nagy just straight up gets fired and they replace him with somebody who will. But the thing is that the defense still has Khalil Mack. It's in Chicago. We have a history with that. It's going to be on prime time. We have a history with that as well. So there's a lot that isn't in our favor historically. So I'm going to say that that's going to be a loss. As much as that offense sucks in Chicago right now, I think it has the potential to get better. I still believe in Justin Fields. They'll get David Montgomery back. They still have Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney. I'm going to say that that's a loss. Next, we have the Rams. Are you kidding me? Aaron Donald, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, that passing attack. I don't care where they play that game. That's a loss. I don't see it. I don't see us being able to compete with the Rams. There's no way. Next, we have a road game against the Packers in January, which is going to be brutal because that's going to be the coldest of games that you can imagine. And it's not that the Vikings are, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not that they haven't experienced that, because they have. They play in the NFC North. They played outdoors. They've done it before. But just the fact that it's Packers home field, I think the Packers are going to be playing for a playoff spot, not necessarily like to secure a spot, but like to secure a higher seed. So there's going to be more on the line for them at this point. And if you look at the losses that are piling up behind me, it's not good for us. So I'm going to say that this is another loss. We split with the Packers on the year. So we'll sweep the Lions, split with the Packers, and then it comes down to Chicago to see how well we do to end the season. At that point, I think both of these teams are playing a meaningless game. It'll be like kind of like last year, how we played that meaningless game against the Lions. It was just nothing. It was just a shit show of, you know, offensive production. We almost gave up that game because we couldn't stop Marvin Jones for some reason. I'm going to say we split with the Chicago Bears, and we're going to take this game because it does end at home, and I hope it's not a repeat of 2018 where they come into our building and they just, you know, put their foot on our throats and escape with the win. But I think the Vikings escape with the win here. So that's the schedule. Let's see where we're at. So we're 3-3, 3-4, 3-5, 4-5, 5-5, 5-6, 6-6, 6-7, 6-8, 6-9, 6-10, 7-10. So I have the Vikings finishing the 2021 campaign at 7-10 as of right now. And remember, things can change. You know, there can be injuries, there can be coaching firings for other teams. Teams are going to get hot, teams are going to get cold, they regress to the means. Everything comes in waves. So right now, as of the current landscape of the NFL, this is what I think is going to happen for the Minnesota Vikings. So it looks like a repeat of last year, where they start off in the gutter, having to dig themselves out, and then they go through this period of, we're just trying to tread water and stay at or above 500. But based on this, they never get above 500, at least in this scenario. And let me know in the comments below if you envision a different pathway for the Minnesota Vikings, because right now, even if I change a few games, we're only looking at 9-8, so that's probably not enough to make the playoffs. You will be in a situation where you need a ton of help. You need Team X to do this and Team Y to beat Team Z. You know, it's just the situation that you don't want to be in. You want to have control of your own destiny, and clearly, right now they don't, unless they start piling up wins. So the second half of the season is just too brutal, in my opinion. We'll see if that changes. I was wrong last year because I said they started 0-2, and then I predicted a 5-11 finish, and then they ended up going 7-9. So they were 2 above what I originally predicted. So if they get 2 above what I'm predicting this time, they'll finish with a winning record, but it won't be enough. So let me know what you think in the comments below. What games would you change? What games do you agree with? And I will see you in the next one.